has been a grip, but enough talking, let's just get into it. So, remember when I made this? Yeah, in that last video, I said, I'm gonna be posting a singing video about book one, about Heartslebule, really soon. I meant to keep that promise. I really did. But my brain decided, no! So, I offer you this instead. I'm still working on it! In the meantime, I offer you guys a new project I've been working on, which I will explain as I draw. Ready, set, go! This new project is basically a combination between two of my favorite animes. Well, one of them being an anime video game. Twisted Wonderland and the anime franchise Pretty Cure. Basically, it's magical girl warriors and Twisted Wonderland. I present to you all Neverland Pretty Cure. The first cure I'm designing here is the one based off of Heartslebule. I just finished the chapter based off of them. If you don't know, go watch those 3 videos. But, choosing themes for each of the girls and choosing how to make them individual was really tough. Also, if you're wondering what happened here with the, with little particles, yeah, I used Procreate and I didn't know about the threshold. I had accidentally messed up my threshold and I had to fix it, and I didn't fix it until the mid-season, so oops. Back on topic though. This is the Pretty Cure of Heartslebule. I decided to take inspiration from different fan-made Pretty Cure outfits that I found on the internet and draw those as inspiration. And honestly, I'm very happy with how her dress turned out. She turned out beautifully, even better than I imagined her turning out. I decided on the chest I would have her, I would have it white and have red paint on it to represent the painting roses red thing of Alice in Wonderland and Heartslebule. And I decided to give her Riddle's eyes for her civilian form. I think they were somewhat Riddle's eyes. They were silver eyes that I based off of Riddle. And obviously her color palette had to be red, because Heartslebule has red and black for their armbands. Now about the actual girl herself. Choosing her name was where the trouble really was at, so I had to get my sister Jordan's help for that. Alice in Wonderland's original setting is in England, so I thought, okay, maybe a name that can somewhat be related to England, but I didn't want to choose something that most people would have guessed, but I think I ended up choosing one of those anyways. So I made her first name Rachel, but the last name was the hard part. But then Jordan came over to me and told me that Wonderland wasn't the real name of Wonderland. Fun fact, it was actually called Undala. So I thought that was really freaking cool, so I decided to name her Rachel Undala. And for her cure name, I thought about Cure Rose because roses are also a huge thing in Alice in Wonderland. Specifically, the Queen of Hearts Rose Garden, you know, where we meet her. And then from Food Wars, I remembered the Queen of all Roses was named a Damask Rose. So I decided to name her Cure Damask and base the attacks off of the dorm songs. Without further ado, here is Rachel Undala, aka Cure Damask, and her little color palette. Next up is the Savannah Claw cure. Choosing a theme for her was woof. I didn't post any of the things on here, but I will show pictures of the 3 guys. Basically, Savannah Claw's whole thing is like, do you even live brown? Might as well be their motto. The 3 main characters of that dorm are Leona Kingscholar, Raggy Bucci, and Jack Howell. They're all a lot. That dorm's main colors are yellow and black. So I needed to really think outside the box for this girl. I ended up giving her black hair and another yellow color palette because I'm basic and had to base it off the dorm. But I also decided that her outfit would be a jean dress like I've seen before. I remember having one, just can't remember where I put it. But I got a bit more liberal with her Pretty Cure outfit. I wanted her to still be the rough and tough person that would be perfect for Savannah Claw. And woof, I think I did my job a little too well. I decided to name the girl's civilian form, her actual name, to be Anza. I will post the reference to her name right here But problem is I don't remember what that meant right now. Anyways, I decided to name her Pride, kind of like a pride of lions. And I figured, since Laura Lemaire from Tropical Rouge Pedicure did it, why not make her last name her cure name? So I dubbed the cure Pride. I guess I might as well also give a short synopsis of the book, mainly because I didn't play it. Book 2's whole thing was there is a spell drive tournament. Consider spell drive magical football. That's how we put it in the game. But for some reason, there are a bunch of these incidents because it's an inter-dorm. Like, all 7 dorms are participating. Naturally, Ramshackle is not. Boo. But Savannah Claw, although we don't know it's originally Savannah Claw, actually ends up causing a lot of incidents where people, star players and other teams, were getting hurt. Leona is the one to overblot because he got caught. And we find out his signature spell is called King's Roar, and he almost kills Ruggy here. Poor Ruggy. But that's when we learn Leona is an actual prince, and he's always compared to his brother, which he does not deserve. And, yeah, I'll leave it at that. If you want to know more, look it up, but here is Anza, and in case you're wondering about the lover thing, you'll find out in the series. Bada bing, bada boom, you poor unfortunate souls, it's time for Octavanel! I'll start with the story first. After the spell drive tournament, it is time for final exams, and everyone ends up scoring pretty well. Even Graham, who hates studying. But that's when we realized everyone only ended up scoring well because they signed a contract with the guy I'm using for a color palette right now, actually. Azul Ashengrado, House Warden of Octavanel. Oh no. So one thing leads to another, and he ended up having everyone sign a contract where they had to score in the top 50 with a study guide he made. But honestly, he gave everyone the study guide pretty much, so woof. Yeah, he knew that was gonna happen. And then you get into a whole thing where you have to steal a picture in 3 days. Again, look it up if you're so inclined. But on to the pedicure, who is our main focus. Our pedicure is named Arya Ashengrado. You might realize the last name sounds familiar, and yes, she's actually Azul's sister. In my little headcanon, hush, this is my story. I wanted to make her outfit seem like very regal-ish. I wanted to make it kind of stand out and just scream the ruler of the sea and land. Arya, well, her first name I chose because Azul's first name starts with an A, and I wanted to follow that pattern. But the other reason I chose it was because of I can talk, guys. The other reason I chose it was because of an aria or a song. And for her cure name was really difficult, but it's right there on her compact holder. I named her Cure Bubble. And for the other two who are in Octavanel, meet Jade and Floyd Leach. They're twins based off of Flotsam and Jetsam, and woof. Floyd is terrifying, Jade is just weird. Jade is weird. Also, in case you want to know, Azul overblots in book 3. It's not fun! What else can I talk about? Maybe the fact that Azul literally had to steal a photo, and then when Leona sanded the contracts with his signature spell, he went banana bonkers. But if you want to know more about that, face book 3 and prepare to fight Overblood Azul. Moving on to something a bit more lighthearted, Scarabia, who has only 2 people, so I'll just address them really quick. Kaleem Alasim and Jamil Viper, both second years, just like the trio of Octavanel. In book 4, it is officially winter break, and we're left at school because both of you to assume we can go home. But we end up accidentally spending it at Scarabia, where we meet Kaleem, who's the house warden, and Jamil, who's the vice house warden. Problem is, though, we ended up getting kidnapped and having to face Kaleem's crazy mood swings. You would think Kaleem would be the one to overblot, right? Wrong! Remember, Jafar wasn't the actual sultan, but the royal vizier. It ends up being the vice house warden who overblots Jamil Viper. Jamila served Kaleem's family for like years and years, but he always had to dim his own light so Kaleem could shine. Naturally, boys stopped being okay with that, so he finally reached a breaking point and overplotted. But let's move on to the cure now, shall we? Choosing a name for this cure was really difficult, but I decided to make my life easy and design her civilian design off of Kaleem, because I can imagine they'd be related. And as for her outfit, I knew I wanted the dangly bits at the end of her hair to be based off of water, based off of Kaleem's signature spell. You should remember those from book 1. Anyways, I decided to base her off of that, and also basically make her like a little princess of the Oasis. And choosing her name was not fun, but after doing some research and getting my sister's help again, I decided to name her Rawia, which is actually Arabic for storyteller. And it reminded the both of us of the famous storyteller Scheherazade, who told the Arabian Nights, which is where Aladdin originates from. So I decided to name her in homage to that, Rawia Shahrazad. You know, based off of Scheherazade. I know I messed it up, hush. And as for her cure name, there's an event in the game called Alab Nadia, which means fireworks in Arabic. I actually looked that up. So I decided to take the last bit of her name and name her Kira Alia. I decided to make her little clasp on her pendant holder, her compact holder, a little cloud to kind of represent the genie, like the little cloud of smoke that appears whenever he does his thing. So, yeah, that's all I really have to say for Rawia Shahrazad. Oh, wait, no, that isn't. I lied. After doing some story building, I decided to make her Kaleem's relative. And as you saw in the attack, I accidentally made attacks of Alia and Pride the same, so I changed it from beat to beat down. I'm smart. Next up is the most beautiful Pretty-Cure, Pompiore's Pretty-Cure. Book 5 is all about Pompiore, which is, as you know, the dorm based off of the fairest queen's tenacity. Anywhoozy doodle, it's during the school festival, preparing for the school festival, and the 3 main characters of Pompiore for the main cast are these 3. Vil Shenheit, House Warden, Rook Hunt, Vice House Warden, and first year Epple Felmir. I freaking love these 3. And the problem here is that Vil actually has a rival in the acting and modeling industry. Oh yeah, Vil is an actor and model. But the problem is there's this event called the Vocal and Dance Championship, or the VDC, where they go against Royal Sword Academy, and they end up having to train really hard so that they can beat Vil's longtime rival, and let's just say one thing leads to another. Vil ends up almost committing a very ugly deed, as he puts it, and he he does overblot, but on a happier note, Deuce gets its signature spell. Hooray, Deucey! Okay, but onto the Pretty-Cure. I decided to base her hair off of Vil's beta design, because originally his hair was supposed to be purple to blonde, but instead they switched it to blonde to purple. And I decided that this Pretty-Cure would get to live out that dream of purple to blonde hair. Choosing her cure hair was very, very hard. But it was actually pretty fun after I got past the idea of wanting it to be a bow, because I decided that would be too difficult to design. As for the names, I really, really had to dig deep for this one, because I don't know German. And that's basically where not Alice in Wonderland, Snow White takes place. It takes place in Germany, which was a struggle for me. Anyways, the whole thing about her name, I decided to choose 2 names that actually meant beauty, so I decided to go with Anneliese Venus. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Again, I don't know German. As for her Pretty-Cure name, I decided to go with something based off of one of Rook's nicknames, because he likes to give everybody he meets nicknames. So for Rook's nickname for Apple, for context, Apple is actually an apple farmer. He comes from a family of apple farmers from this whole town and has a country accent that Vil makes him hide, which rude. But his whole nickname from Rook actually leans into that, because Rook called him, quote-unquote, a apple just beginning to grow, or something like that. I don't know. I need to watch the vignette again. But he calls him Monsieur Pommette, or crab apple. So I decided to look up a similar name, and I came across Pommeline. So I decided to name her Cure Pommeline. The newest addition to the Pomfiore family, and in case you don't know that reference, go check out more Twist Book 5 stuff, because they're basically a family. Although Vil and Apple do not act like it. They butt heads a lot. Stop trying to change Appleville. I know you mean well, but there's got to be a better way. Honestly, though, I love these trio. They crack me up. I love them so much. I have an addiction to them. It's honestly a problem. Oh, yeah, and I decided to make Annalise Vil's childhood friend and a model and actress just like him. Anyways, moving on to Ignahide, Book 6. It has to do with all the previous Overblotted, aka Riddle, Leona, Azul, Jamil, and Vil. Woof! This chapter does not take place at Night Raven College. This takes place in the island of Woe. Styx! It basically takes place somewhere pretty far away. All the Overblotted become kidnapped. I mean, they get kidnapped by these these robot thingies. Anyways, Rook, Apple, and the Prefect, that's us. Oh, sorry, I had to burp. Anyways, we go after the Overblotted to try to find out what the heck just happened. Then we find out some pretty interesting lore about two prominent characters, and I'll show them right here, because again, as I said, in the first 3 videos of Twitch I've ever made, their names are actually pretty much shown in the beginning of the game, when you have to choose one of them. The actual human-designed character is Idia Shroud. He's the house warden. And the second character is his adorable little brother, Ortho. He's a humanoid, but we love him anyways. Ortho is just the cutest dang thing to ever exist. Idia ends up overblotting, and you find out a lot of lore, which I'm not going to spoil, because honestly, it gets really, really sad. I'm going to move on to the cure now before I cry. I decided to make her names based off of somewhat about the underworld and the River Styx, because that is Hades' whole shtick. For Lydia, I just chose a name that I thought was pretty. I have no explanation there, so I just chose Lydia because I liked it, and I am always a Beetlejuice fan. But as for her last name, Crud, hold on.
Prism.
Which actually, when broken down, means grief or rhythm. Well, combined. It's got different parts to it. Hush. Anyways, as for the cure name, I decided to name her Cure Lethe, which is the name of the river that leads to the underworld, commonly known as the River Styx. And I decided to make the symbol on her a skull for obvious reasons. And designing her outfit wasn't exactly difficult, but I wouldn't say it was a cakewalk. Because I wanted it to feel magical girl-ish, but something you would still somewhat be able to link to Hades. Because of her house warden being an otaku. Oh yeah, Idia is an otaku. Which is something you learn very fast from your first interaction with him. He is a huge otaku that does not like to leave his room. And I love him. He is me in a nutshell. Anyways, here you go. This is Lydia, whatever the last name is, aka Cure Lethe. Diasomnia, Book 7, the most recent book, aka the one where I'm trying not to cry. Anyways, this one's pretty easy to summarize. These 4 are the main protagonists of Book 7, aka the main actual cast members of Diasomnia that are not NPCs. He's Sebek Zigvold, a first year, Silver, a second year, Lilia Van Rouge, third year and vice house warden, and Sonotato. Okay, I'm kidding. His name is actually Malleus Draconia, but we call him Sonotato. And he is a huge dork. He's the house warden, and everyone's afraid of him, but honestly, he's just a good kid who's just funny more than half the time and needs friends. Anyways, Lilia is about to leave even NRC because he can't use magic anymore because he's actually pretty old. He is actually a fae that live, and FYI, fae live longer than humans. So Lilith was actually pretty old, and he was gonna leave, and Malleus is just like, hell no! Overblots because of it. And because Malleus overblots, his overblot causes everyone to become trapped in dreams, and it's up to the prefect, Grim, and Silver, who has the ability to jump in between dreams, to freaking stop everything from going awry. Back to the cure. Malleus is a draconic fae, just like, kind of like Lilia, who's just a regular fae. So I decided to make this pretty cure, who I've already had a bunch of ideas for. I decided to make her a draconic fae too, and I decided to make her Malleus's cousin, because making her his sister would have been way too complicated. Anyways, for her name, I decided to go with Adeline. Hold on, I don't fully remember why, but I guess I thought it sounded cool. Then it reminded me of Madeline, you know, an old cartoon from my childhood. It's bound to be around on the internet somewhere. But honestly, I just really liked the name, and obviously her last name had to be Draconia, but drawing her horn and tail was the toughest thing I had to do, because holy crud. Anyways, this is also when I learned about the threshold problem I had. Anyways, back to what I was saying though. For her cure name, I decided to go with Cure Dreamy. Different from Yes Pretty Cure 5's Cure Dream. This is not that. Anyways, Cure Dreamy because Sleeping Beauty, the dorm that inspired the insomnia, in a sense, is based off of Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty. Anyways, it often has to do with Sleeping Beauty, which has to do with dreams. Dun dun dun. Especially with the song Once Upon a Dream. So I figured Cure Dreamy was a perfect name. It made sense in my head, okay? Although, honestly, I could not be happier with how Cure Dreamy, aka Adeline, turned out. And I ended up forgetting to close the drawing, so I kind of got stuck for a bit because I got caught up talking with people and probably just nitpicking the little details because that's who I am. My autistic/ADHD brain said, focus on all the small deets. But yeah, that's Adeline. Moving on to the last cure. Of course, someone had to remember Ramshackle. Ramshackle's important. We mustn't forget Ramshackle. So here's the Ramshackle pretty cure. Ramshackle doesn't have a story. It's basically just us. It's us and Grim. It's the prefect and Grim. Anyways, that means I've got a lot less to talk about here because we've already introduced Grimmy, but I will try my best. Ramshackle is not an official dorm, so it's kind of hard to choose things for a Ramshackle cure, like a color palette. However, that is when I realized Grim's color palette is gray and light blue. Weeball, let's go with it. I also decided to make her gimmick a bit different from her friends. Like, she has a different transformation item, she has a different phrase, she has a different everything, because Ramshackle is all its own. It is not like the other dorms, in a sense. Anyways, since Yu is basically Japanese, as we've all inferred, this made choosing her name pretty easy because I've chosen Japanese names before for a lot of my other stories. I can't remember what these two mean, but I liked their names, so I dubbed her Aika Hamasaki. But her cure name is a lot easier for me to explain. I decided to name her Cure Yude, which means ghosts, because Ramshackle has ghosts. And while her color palette for the base for her main outfit is white, light blue, and gray, I decided for her eyes to have the rest of the 7 dorm colors. And she doesn't have a little compact. No, she has the thingy on her chest. I think it'll be like a Night Raven palette, kind of like Night Raven College, and I made all her attacks based off of the dorms. Anyways, that's everyone. Ending with Aika Hamasaki, and her favorite everything is yes! But yeah, that's what I've been working on, and the singing video anyways. Let me know if you want to know more about these girls in the comments. Like, comment, sub, have a fantastic day. This is Jaina Bailey singing Mad